All right, what's going on, guys? It's Jake from Retic Radio, and we are live with episode number. Where are we? Number 10. So it's been a minute since we did a video. Tonight we're going live with Aaron from DNA Slithers N Critters. Been wanting to get him on for a little bit. Just I was telling him backstage, life's been crazy. I'm sure for everybody. I know he's delivering a lot of stuff and working his butt off. So, let's bring him in and get started. So, all right, what's up, Aaron?
Hey, buddy, how's it going?
Good. How are you, man?
Good. Just hustling and grinding. You know.
The
world needs rats.
Yeah, that's what we were saying. I was doing the little intro and saying that you're busy busting your butt delivering rodents and stuff like that. So, you were telling me you do almost 200 miles like area around.
Yeah,
you know?
Pretty much the whole surrounding Denver area, from all the pet stores out there, a lot of the bigger breeders out here, all the way down to Colorado Springs, Pueblo, up to Fort Collins, Cheyenne. I've done business with a lot of other breeders out of state too. It's at any given point, I always say we have about 30,000 feeders at any point. We have,
holy shit,
I think 68 rat racks, 9 mouse racks, and we're looking to add around 20 this year alone.
Holy cow! So you said 30,000? That's what you do?
Yeah, that's about where I'm at. I'm around 5,000 rat moms and around 3,000 mice moms.
Holy cow! Now, are you selling 30,000? Obviously, you're going to keep stuff back for yourself, I would assume, right?
Yeah, so I retire in a month's time. I retire around 400 to 500 jumbos and double XL. The whole reason I started that was just because I couldn't have a big enough collection that I wanted reptile wise. So I seen the need locally as well as what I wanted, and I was like, well, if I'm spending $180 a week on feeders, why don't I get 10 of those people that much and then, make a business out of it? And I just never thought I'd be here breeding rats for a living, but that's all I do now for a living. So it's cool to be fully immersed in the industry. That is all I do.
Yeah, that's cool, man. And the fact that you're doing the rodents, and then you're also doing all the big snakes, and I know you do anacondas and all sorts of crazy stuff. So kind of cool that you're on both sides of it. That's really, really neat. I tried to raise rats a long time ago, and my allergies are so bad. I just can't do it. It would be so nice to be able to, but I don't envy you guys that raise your own feeders, man. That's another, like you said, that's another full-time job. So
there's been a few times I'm sitting on a pile of trash on my truck, taking it to the dump, tossing them off. I'm like, how did I end up on this pile of shit? Yeah. And, like you said, the asthma, my wife, she's been here with me since day one from the beginning. And she actually at one point had to step down from doing the rodent side and just focus on like deliveries and stuff because she actually had asthma and it kept getting progressively worse.
Really?
So she at one point had to just say, hey, I love you, but this isn't what I want. And, I got to put her health above everything else.
Absolutely. I mean, even now when I'm feeding stuff, I'm handling the rats and my hands start itching like crazy. And I'm just like, got to be careful not to like wipe my eyes or rub my face it's not as bad. The rabbits, when I was feeding rabbits were the worst. I had to pick up I've said it before. I used to pick up live rabbits, call them, freeze them, and do all that. And that was like that would be like a whole weekend just because my allergies. I'd pick them up Friday. I felt like shit all day Friday, all day Saturday, and Sunday. Start feeling better to go back to work on Monday because it was just brutal. So glad I don't do rabbits anymore because it was just too much.
Yeah.
But
I hard part with rabbits. I don't breed them. I get them brought in. But when I was doing them, man, their big black eyes just looking at you. They're just like staring right into your soul. Like, oh, don't look at me.
I know it's the worst. It was the worst feeling getting them live and having to do it. I'm glad I made the jump to the pigs and doing the frozen thawed pigs. It's so much. I think it's better for my snakes. I love the fact that I don't have to kill anything. They're frozen. They're weighed. All that. It's just they're cheaper actually than I was paying for live rabbits. So it worked out all around.
I definitely feel like you get a denser meal off the pigs too. Like the weight of a 2-pound pig is a lot denser in a smaller meal, so you can get that more weight into a smaller snake versus a 2-pound rabbit. You need a little bit more girth and length just to get that same size meal in.
Right.
I would say, the fur kind of holds everything together and there's a little bit less mess, but
I'll take
allergic and stuff. It's got pros and cons.
Yeah, I like the denser meal anyways. I feel like you get a lot more better growth out of the animals too with the pigs, that from my experience at least,
Yeah.
Well, let's so I got a list of stuff that I like to usually go over. So I don't know you that well. I mean, I see you post this, and I think this is the first time we've ever actually talked. So I don't know you that well. So what, I guess let's start with what got you into reptiles and how long have you been into reptiles? Right? Is it the typical story or what?
It's a little different, actually. My mom, I lived in Iowa, and as we all know, Iowa, you can't have reticulated pythons. So in Sioux City, Iowa, where I'm originally from, you can only have corn snakes. So my mom never let me have animals. I always wanted to have animals. And then I moved out here to Colorado, and I think it was 2015. I was watching a Brian Barczyk video on, let's breed some snakes. And I had this extra, my flooring company that I run. I was like, what am I going to do with this? And it just kind of clicked. And I was like, I don't have my mom here anymore telling me I can't have snakes. So let's do some snakes. And next thing you know, I'm about, at that time, I think it was around 30 ball pythons, some corn snakes, some boas. And I just quickly realized how expensive it was for food. And I'm just like, man, I don't want to keep paying this. And then I just started transitioning into breeding rats. It was definitely a different story. I mean, for that aspect. And, for me to be fully immersed in this industry from, wake up to go clean rats. And then, I come home, shower, because I'm marinated in rat smell. So I can't really just hop into the snake room and clean because they think I'm a snack.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. I bet you radiate of rodents for sure. So,
yeah.
So did you started with ball pythons then when you moved out to Colorado? Is that what you first got into the balls or
Yeah. And coincidentally enough, I'm pretty much retic only in big snakes and big monitors. I had a pair of just normal retics back then. And one of them was the sweetest thing, looking back, it wasn't the smartest, but I could feed her and literally right afterwards go in and touch her and she wouldn't bite me. But then I had this dude named Zeus who literally just came out of nowhere and would strike without warning. And he scared me. He made me swear off retics. I'm like, I'm going to get eaten when I get older. So I just, I took away from him. And then it was, a few years of just doing the rodent business. And then I ran into Michael Durr, an old school guy in the industry. He had that Mochino that I post. And I was like, man, I got these scratch and dent rats that I can't sell. What do I do with them? And someone's like, just get a snake, and it kind of snowballed from there.
Yeah. So that's awesome. So what year was that then? What year was that you got
I
your
started
first
in 2015, and I started as snakes. I did a little bit of rescuing, and within like 4 months, I think we rehomed around 68 reptiles.
Holy cow, man.
Yeah, I still have some photos in the adoption time. If you go into my Facebook photos under the business page. And then from there, I was like, well, this isn't going to be feasible to rescue. I know as much as I want to help them, I can't afford it. And that's just where I started, at that time, there was, I believe, Lynn Cubics and the Cubics crew who did terrible things for the industry name-wise. I won't go too into detail, but I took over basically from them. And it just was one of those things where it was perfect timing, worked out. I've just slowly been able to, carve my niche out of doing the rodents. It's been a humbling experience, man.
Yeah.
There's been times where I'm giving every single dollar I have to my workers and borrowing money from my wife to cover expenses. I can imagine. Got to eat.
Yeah, it never ends, man. It's. I mean, and now too, it's like I feel like it's getting harder. Rodent prices are increasing as a buyer, right? As a buyer, rodent prices are increasing, and I feel like stock, at least for me, that I've noticed, it's harder to get. Like I usually buy from ARS or I buy from Cold Blooded Cafe because they're in Indiana, so they're pretty close to me. Shipping isn't too bad, but like between the two of them, sometimes you can't get rat pups or you can't get a size, or like I said, just the prices alone are just starting to go up. So it's I mean, breeding your own is definitely a big plus. I'm sure it's as prices are rising, I'm sure you're definitely saving a little bit of money. You're putting a lot of more blood, sweat, and tears into it, but it's helping. It's not hurting your pocketbook as much.
Yeah, I mean, doing it as long as I have now, I've seen their seasons, the rats. It's really counterproductive. We breed during the winter time,
Mm-hmm.
which is, we have all these babies and stuff, but wintertime for rodents, actually production slows down. They just
Okay.
naturally will stop breeding and stuff. So during the summertime, my production's clear up here. I have more rats than I know what to do with. I'm just freezing, killing, trying to keep shelves caught up. But like
Yeah.
right now this week, I really start seeing it decline, and that's just one of those things. It's a numbers game, so you normally have 2,000 to cover your normal demand. Well, now I need 4,000 to help cover that
Right.
extra just regular demand. And plus you got to think every year people are breeding more snakes like you and I, even a ball python has 8 babies. So that one snake made 8 babies. If you have 35 of those, that's really just a huge jump up your demand. So, I mean, more people, there's plenty of room to do it. It's just, dirty work. You got to have the time to do it because, that's the biggest thing. You can get more money to buy more rats, but you can't get more time at the end of the day. We have the same amount of time as a millionaire as a poor person does.
Yeah. So I know you said you primarily keep retics, and I know you have some green anacondas or a green anaconda, right? So is that primarily all you keep then? And I know you have monitors. What species of monitors are you? Is it just a pet? Are you trying to breed? What's the goal?
My monitors, I just have as pets. I do have 2 pairs, 2 Nile monitors. Nile monitors, we overfeed. I feel like a lot of people in the industry, you see these big chunky Tegus, these big chunky Nile monitors. And that's why you really don't see big Nile. He's like 4.5 foot, super tame. I just kind of let him roam the basement. He's got plenty of space. I keep those. I don't really want to breed them just because monitor breeding. I did bearded dragons for a while there, and just watching them bite each other and just losing toes. It's pretty gnarly. So, I mean, I've seen some nasty stuff with retics, but it's guaranteed when you're going to breed monitors that they're going to be combative. So I really just keep those as pets. The reticulated pythons are really my thing. I love them. I pretty much have almost all the genetics I need right now. So I'm not bringing new blood in. We do some ball pythons, just, not really into them. I had probably about 40 or 50 of them, but I had a lot of issues in my personal life that I just had to cut back. And I'm just making the snakes more as a hobby more than anything, because at the end of the day, the richest person in any industry is never going to be the one living the dream, but the one always selling the equipment,
Absolutely.
So, that's why we're just going rodent hard this year. I'm looking at hopefully putting up another 20 rat racks and just knuckling down with the recession and everything happening. It's hard to say, but we have the green anaconda. She's been off food since March. And I haven't.
She's big too. She's good size.
She's the biggest in the state, I want to say. Since the zoo in Denver lost theirs. I think theirs was the only one that was big. I mean, anacondas take 9 years for females to mature.
She's one of the. She's definitely on the upper end of the ones I've seen in captivity. She's a very good looking, big, healthy, giant snake for sure.
And I only feed her every 90 days. That's the crazy thing about it. Like, really not that much.
Now, are you feeding? I
never seen them.
Sorry, go ahead.
I never really seen them lock up, but I mean, she's still going through the motions because it's December time and she's still not eating. So I'm just assuming.
Are you feeding, when you feed your anacondas and retics and stuff, are you feeding like real big meals, but not very often? Or are you more like the small meal, more often type of a feeder?
So my bigger parents, breeders, adults and stuff, when I'm not trying to bulk them up, it's a 21-day cycle usually.
Okay.
I usually do put a nice lump in them though. I mean, I like that lump because I know they're going to grow. They get that steady organ pressure to develop, to grow fast. You know, I don't like the small consistent meals because at the end of the day, that's just more cleaning, you know.
That's
I
the
like
way I
that
look at
break
it.
in between poops.
Yeah. That's, I mean, I know me personally, I'm pretty well known for feeding giant. I love feeding big, giant meals. I've always, since I was a kid doing this, it was always, I wanted to see how big of a meal I could put into these snakes sometimes. And like you said, a lot of it is, I don't like to clean all the time. So one big meal, some of my big stuff before I'm really trying to put them on breeding, they'll eat like once every other month. But I mean, I'm feeding giant, huge. I mean, the big females are like on their sides, just pushing that envelope a little bit, I think, on some of the meals. But I mean, everybody has their thing that works. A lot of my friends feed the small meals, but they're feeding every week, but they're feeding, a 15, 16 foot retic, a little 2-3 pound pig. And I don't know. For me, that's not how I would do it, but it works both ways. So,
yeah, definitely. Different strokes for different folks,
Absolutely. I was going to ask you something. Now I just forgot my train of thought. So let's, what do you think your favorite recessive retic morph is?
Man, that, anthrax is just killer because of the black eyes.
Mm-hmm.
I'm Mochino heavy though in my collection. Okay. That's definitely the one thing that I love working with. I love Mocha because they're black lines, but it, like Travis Warren said, it kind of reminds you of a normal for that aspect, in a lot of degrees. But I always compare the Mocha as a 4K TV and the Mochino as the 1080 because it's just it's so dark compared to it. So I'm looking at doing a lot more Mocha and Mochino combos, and Indo Caramel is another really pretty one. I love. But if I had to pick, it'd probably have to be Anthrax.
Yeah, I'm with you on that, man. Anthrax is probably my favorite. I mean, I was just having a discussion with a friend the other day, and I was like, I'm thinking about it, and I feel like the Anthrax kind of, he's really into the ball pythons. I'm like, the Anthrax really, to me, is like the clown of the ball python world. I feel like it's been around forever. I feel like now people are starting to do more and more with it. But I don't know. I just kind of feel like that's like the clown of the ball python world, kind of, there's just so much cool stuff that can be made with it. I don't think there's really been a bad combo at all.
No,
that's kind of where I'm going to start to, I think, refocus my collection. I want to do a lot of Anthrax into pretty much everything I can put into it, and just kind of be my staple is Anthrax, I think, because I have so much Anthrax stuff that I feel like it's just kind of going that direction anyways. But yeah, I'm with you for sure. What's your favorite incomplete dominant?
I don't know, honestly. I'm just really into that Mochino and Anthrax.
The Mochino's cool too, man. And I just did the Orange Glow stuff, and I was a Mochino diehard. Never owned Orange Glow or Indo Caramel, and man, after those snakes hatched, I'm like, Mochino Anthrax to me was like my top. That there's not going to be a better albino combo, period. And then when these hatched, I'm kind of like, oh, I don't know now. Now I'm not so sure. Give them 6-8 months. I think I'm going to be switching to the Orange Glow. I think it's going to be the coolest Anthrax albino, period. But that ghost you made is pretty freaking badass.
Yeah,
that ghost.
He started like pink, and as he's gotten older, he's just gotten more and more bone white. And Ghost, as we all know, has that reputation of just not wanting to eat. And shout out to my friend Devin Hoffman. He's the partner in crime on that project. He was the one that brought it to our door with through Travis Warren. Travis is a great guy. I'm forever grateful for calling him a friend. That it just got so bone white, and it just keeps getting better and better.
Yeah.
And I'm excited. I got that Both double hets locked up again last night. He's just a prolific breeder, but he's an F1 and he wants nothing but to just bite me and just not want me to hold him at all.
That's the worst. That is the worst when they're like that.
You almost got to like mentally prepare yourself. Like, okay, I could get bit.
Yeah.
I got 2 exits? That's my big thing with retics is I have to have 2 exit points because the last thing you do is want to be cornered in a corner with a snake that's just progressively moving forward and you're stuck there with nowhere to go but forward.
That happened when I had a big Jampea that did that, cornered me in my basement and I was stuck. I didn't know. Luckily I had shoes on. I kind of kicked it to get it away from me because it was coming at me like mouth open, and I just never made that mistake again. But definitely have to be a little more smart with that. What breeding was that? That were double hets, right? Just normal double het to normal double het that made that, or?
Yeah, so the original ghost male from Ben, and then the original wild caught anthrax female.
What's the plan? Because that ghost anthrax is a male, you said, right?
Yep.
What's the plan? What's like the plan with him? Are you going to start outcrossing that into some other stuff, or like,
my dream is the ghost anthrax OGS. That's the one thing I just want to see. Just those 3. I don't really care for anything else in it.
Yeah, that's gonna be a crazy combo for sure. I was actually kind of impressed with the anthrax OGS. I saw it at Tinley. Sal brought it one year.
Oh yeah,
last year. It was not as crazy as I thought. I mean, it's really cool to see an anthrax because it was like orange. I mean, it had the orange ghost stripe color, like orange anthrax. But I think if you had, Sunfire, I think is going to be really cool added in. An anthrax on OGS will be really neat. But yeah, it's like I said, I think that anthrax stuff, got to get that into everything for sure.
Yeah. It's a bummer you don't really see any of the jet black anthraxes. I think Weston, he has one.
Yeah.
But a lot of them are really brown and out.
Gavin, when I went up to Gavin's last time and I was looking through his stuff, he has an anthrax tiger, massive anthrax tiger that is black. Just black. Black is my shirt. Crazy. I really want to try to get it. I don't remember if he said she wasn't the best handling snake, which I don't really want anything that I can't really handle anymore. I'm over that stage. I don't really want it or need it. But if she's not bad, I may try to get that snake down here because that snake is it's so black. It's unbelievable. It had one stripe down the side for the tiger, and it's just black.
That's sick.
And she's big. I mean, she's probably 17 foot or so, giant, big snake. So, the black ones are awesome. I think I know the answer to this though, but what's your favorite locality?
Sula. I mean, anything that's gonna be mainland, honestly. Like for me, I'm at expos and stuff a lot, and people like, you got super dwarfs, and they're cool. I have 2 super dwarfs, but that's just because I wanted the snow genetics.
Yeah.
For me, there's nothing more amazing than to work with an animal that could literally hurt me if it wants, but we've built that level of respect between each other to understand, hey, you have your moments where you just want to be left alone. I just want to stare at you and watch you just, and marvel. So eventually my goal is to open up like a little display area at my next facility where I can build some nice 8 by 8 foot enclosures with waterfall area and just really let the crowd, see the animal for what it's truly is, and it's just amazing to be able to work with an animal that big, but it's scary because, as you get older, you're going to lose that strength to handle an animal like that.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest sad part about that whole situation is one day I won't be able to work with these animals.
It's all guiding. Just use that hook. I mean, I very rarely, I'm a big dude. I can lift them fairly easy, I guess you would say, right? But I'm not trying to hurt myself. I'm very, like, I have my regimen, how I feed and clean, right? If I don't have to lift them fully up or out, it's into the tub, and then the snake above goes into that. I just work it in a cycle,
Yeah.
Just because I get nervous, if something were to happen, you put a big snake on your shoulder, it doesn't take much, for something to happen, and just try to be as safe as possible.
Yeah, when I'm working with them, my rule of thumb is never up and over the neck. Even if I'm out in public, it's up and over the shoulders. So
Yeah.
worst case scenario, I have one arm free to do whatever. Because at the end of the day, these animals demand respect.
Oh,
It's not
for
just
sure.
a ball python. When someone says they have an angry ball python, I kind of chuckle because I'm like, you don't know the half of what you can go up against. And yeah, it's truly an apex animal that demands our respect, and if you don't give it, it will let you know that you're not.
Absolutely. I mean, and that's the thing, I talk to people when I do all the shows and stuff, and there's so many people that come out and again they ask about the super dwarfs, and I'll tell them I don't work with them. I don't really care for the super dwarf stuff that much. Um, but then they start asking questions about the mainland stuff, and I tell them, like they can make great pets for people that are prepared and understand what they are getting into.
Yep.
They are a dangerous animal. They can seriously hurt you and or kill you. Um, I think they're not as bad as some people make them out to be. Obviously, you just have to know what you're doing, and I think putting the time in. I have people all the time that want to come and help clean and learn and kind of like how do you go about doing it. And I'm totally open for that. Just trying to find time for people to come, but I think that's the best bet is find somebody that you can learn from and like be a mentor and kind of get your feet wet that way. And I think a mainland would be an awesome pet for somebody. Really.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's just like a car. At the end of the day, you have to pay attention. You have to be what it's capable of because it can hurt you. And at least if I'm gonna get hurt by a snake, it's something that I'm willing to love to do. And Garrett Hartle had a good quote. I don't know who told him, but is if you can only love something that's only gonna love you back at the end of the day, you don't really have a loving heart to begin with.
Right.
And
Right.
I literally have a few snakes that I know that I'll probably never be able to sell because of that reason. But I know that here at my place, they're going to get the best care possible. Like I have an iguana that's called inmate 76425 because literally every time I've opened that door, he comes running out and I've gotten bit by him multiple times. And, it's just at the end of the day, it comes with the territory.
Yeah.
I can't own a lion, so I own a giant snake.
Yeah. There you go. There you go. So I don't know if you know Benny he's on Instagram a lot. Awesome dude. Met him at Tinley. He has a question for us. So I'll see if you want to answer it. He just asks, how do you guys socialize your snakes when being so busy? He's having a hard time with one of his F1 Borneo. She's super cage defensive. So what do you do, Aaron, for that?
So with me for the bigger snakes, I mean, I use a divider. Honestly, if it's a snake that is an adult that it's past that point of being able to take a few bites, it's divider. Try to keep the interactions short and sweet. If I am handling them, I never drop them, even if they are coming with me. I like to do that dance is where if they're facing this way and they start turning, I start turning with the snake. So it's always facing outwards. Unlike anacondas, though, they can literally be looking at the camera, come back and bite me in the face because of their position. So with the smaller snakes and stuff that I can take bites for, like the hatchlings, I'll actually kind of work through their aggression with them. I got hair, so I'll just put the snake kind of do one of these in the back of my head. He'll strike a few times and then just kind of realizes, hey, this isn't doing anything. And that's how I've broken a lot of the hatchlings and stuff of their aggression to bite. It's kind of let them work it out almost. But the bigger snakes, for me, hey, you're big. I can't take a bite from you. So let's avoid that interaction as much as possible and set up ways to prevent that level. I've seen where some people just go in and manhandle them and just grab them by the head.
The worst. I've
done it a few times, but I prefer not. But it's just because I feel like any bit of thread of trust is just destroyed with that animal. If I had somebody coming in my bed and just grabbing me out of bed and holding me in the spot, I feel like I would just want to take the first shot I can at that person. So I try to avoid that as much as possible. I know some people may not agree with that, but different strokes for different folks.
Right. Yeah, he says she's about 6 to 7 feet, so she's still pretty small. But I think you nailed it. I mean, I agree 100%. I mean, with the bigger stuff. I mean, again, I haven't had anything big bigger that's been that aggressive. So I really haven't had that. But I mean, it was the same thing, like you said, that dance. Almost think of it like a loaded gun. Keep the front away from you, and just kind of point it away from you and work your way around and just
I always say point that pea shooter elsewhere.
Yeah.
Because if it's looking at you, it can bite you.
It's going to get you, yeah. But it's even, pull that snake out, handle it 5-10 minutes. Any positive thread, put it back. Like you said, the positive threads are key. Build that little bit of positive interaction.
Even if it's just inside the cage, rubbing it with the hook, having that barrier. And, I have had a few snakes that people are like, this thing's nasty, and really I leave it on the opposite end of the 6-footer. I have a stick right between me and the snake's head, and I'm just cleaning over on the other side, always paying attention to that snake. I'm not breaking eye contact. If I'm grabbing poop, I'm still staring at that snake, making sure that I don't have that where it's just going to catch me off guard. But a lot of times that's a real easy way to still clean and not have to worry about it. But if the snake's coming at you, then it's a little different story. But yeah, that F1 male I got, when I pull him out, I don't even hold him. I literally use 2 hooks like it's a
venomous, yeah.
Yeah, just because he'll wrap my hand and then come right back to whatever he's wrapping and try and bite it. So I don't even give him the chance. And
my Sula male does that sometimes. He's not too bad. He has his days. Some days he's real fine, real good. The other days he's done that where he's tail wrapped me and came back over his own body and stuff. And I hate when they do that. That's the absolute worst. I told this story before. I bought an anthrax from Prehistoric Pets back in the day, like when Garrett was still working there, when they were like $5 or $6 grand. And there was 2 of them that I was going back and forth with, and the one I picked out ended up Garrett sent it to me, and this thing was the devil itself. It was so mean. I've had wild caughts back in the day that were not as mean as a snake. It would bite you, and I mean, it would launch its whole body off the ground to try to get you. I mean, it wasn't even that big. It was a little bit bigger than a hatchling, 30 inches or so maybe. And I mean, I handled it. I mean, it got to the point where I don't mind getting a bite, but it got so bad that I had to start wearing gloves because I was sick of getting bit every time. Yeah. What ended up working for that snake was I had it in a rack. Once I put it into a 221 Vision right in the middle of my room, and I'm walking by that cage, multiple times a day. I'm working, I'm making noise. I got the music on, which obviously they're not going to hear, but just always right there in front of it. I mean, for the first few days, the snake would strike at the glass and was freaking out. After about a week or so, it stopped doing that. It was a little easier to work with, and just gradually that snake turned out to be awesome. I mean, I ended up selling her a few years ago, but when I got rid of her, she was awesome. I could pull her out, rub her head. I mean, she was a doll to get the eggs from. Didn't even strike one time at me. Just an awesome animal, which you would have never guessed when she was a baby that she would have turned out like that. I almost got rid of her because she was so bad. I'm like, Garrett, I don't even want to mess with this thing anymore. It sucks. It's so mean. It's so vicious. It's terrible.
Yeah, I'm right there with you on that. Like right there in the room, high traffic area. I might give them a little piece of paper that they can hide by, but 3/4 of their cage is exposed because when people say, yeah, give it a hide, it needs somewhere to hide. I'm like, no, that's not creating a sense of security and exposure. And plus then you got to move the hide out, and that's just another thing. You don't know where it's facing. For me, that massive exposure of just being used to that high traffic, I feel like it really desensitizes them, like you're saying, they just get really used to like, oh, it's just that dude that keeps walking by.
Yeah, they're eventually going to realize. I mean, they're such smart animals. They're eventually going to realize, like, you're not a threat. You're not here to hurt them. You're not here to mess with them. And you're not it just, I don't know, it makes sense. I mean, I talked to Kevin, and like what Kevin is doing with his monitors over at Nerd, it's kind of the same thing. I think just basic setup where they can see you, they can't really hide. They're going to get used to you, and they're going to eventually be desensitized enough where you'll be able to work with them.
Yeah.
I don't know if you could do that with a bigger, older animal though. Like I'd be curious to see how that would work with them. I mean, it probably wouldn't, because I know guys that keep wild caught stuff in Visions, and they're still assholes. So,
I always, when people bring up that debate, I'm like, well, you put 150 people in a room, and not everyone's going to be friendly. There's going to be the pro athlete. There's going to be the guy for nice, and then there's just going to be the dude that wants to beat on you for no reason. So I totally get it. And that's the best way I describe it. It's like, every snake has its own personality.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see. So we talked about that. Do you have a least favorite locality?
Anything that's small, honestly.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Like
you're a big snake guy like me, so I kind of was figured you were gonna say that too. So.
Yeah, I'm if I want a small snake, I'll get a ball python. It's at the end of the day, a retic has always been known for its size. Up till the last 5 years, I would say, localities really weren't a thing, and it's critical to have that pure locality for the simple fact we're going to run into bottlenecking, just like the Eastern indigos, where we're going to start running into health issues and stuff. So for me, I'm big on, having that as close to wild caught, if not wild caught blood, just to bring a 5-gene animal to that, to clean it out of any of the health issues. At the end of the day, we can't bring anything else in. So what we got, we have to preserve. Absolutely. And that's the one thing that, saddens me about not being able to bring stuff in is, my kids, will they be able to enjoy a healthy retic one day?
Gotta hope that that USARC can get some stuff done and maybe get them off the Lacey Act one day, so we could start importing again. I mean, I don't know if it will ever happen. I think it's going to be a very hard and expensive fight, but I mean, you never know. You never know what could happen. But
yeah, we're big on anytime we ship out an animal, we always donate money. I always try to promote from time to time. If people have memberships, we give them discount on feeders. Because at the end of the day, they're the only ones that are going to stand for us, and if we don't stand together as a community of reptiles, whether you're a leopard gecko owner, ball python, whatever, we're all in this together. People look at us like we're weird, whether you have just that leopard gecko or the big snakes. It's like we are a community, and we need to stop fighting over what snake is cool and what you think you have is better than mine. It's like, no, we all love these animals. And we need to stand together, because together we're stronger than any individual, community.
Yeah, agreed. I agree. I mean, the sad thing is it's like the big snake community really doesn't contribute all that much when you think about it. Like we're the ones that are under attack the most, and we're the ones doing the least amount of work. Not all of us. I think the key people that are in it and involved do, but there's so many people that have one snake or two snakes, or talk about wanting to be a breeder or this or that aren't doing shit, aren't promoting USARC, aren't donating to USARC, aren't anything. And I mean, if you keep any reptile, whether it's one leopard gecko or you keep 100 retics, you should be a USARC member. You have to be. I don't see how you couldn't be. It's we talk about it. Everybody that's in the reptile hobby knows once they take the big snakes, it's going to trickle down. It'll be the ball pythons at some point, the crested geckos, the all that stuff. It's only a matter of time. So it's just we're first on the chopping block, unfortunately, which really, 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 really sucks.
Yeah, when I first came into the industry, that was right as the Lacey Act for the interstate transport ban was lifted. So I never really got to be involved with any of the wild caught importation and stuff, unfortunately. But it was one of those things I didn't realize what was going on. You don't understand until you're there. Like when I'm at expos, that's my biggest point, is I try to talk to people. I try to make people aware that they're trying to take our rights, and we have to stand up for ourselves, and educating the youth and keeping people aware of these situations by talking about it, and like in this podcast, just make sure it doesn't fall dormant, because there was a good brief moment while this last Heroes Act happened where people just kind of stopped and thought it wasn't going to go anywhere, but then all of a sudden it would come back up in legislation and people would start getting worried again. And it's like it's been there the whole time, and it's still there now. Once the next session of Congress comes back in, it was the Patriots Act and the Heroes Act. It's going to be something next time, and they're just going to try and slip it in the many, many thousands of pages that are in there. And fortunately, they can do that. But, thank God to USARC sitting there combing through all the pages, we're able to have that awareness as soon as possible.
Yeah, Phil and his team, man, really they do an amazing job. Have you ever met Phil?
I haven't.
Oh man, he's an awesome dude. He is a great guy. I know when the Lacey X stuff was starting, or there was talks of it. I remember it was pretty new. I think he wasn't president of USARK that long at the time, and I could be wrong on that, but from what I remember, and he I think it was Tinley one year. He got like all the Retic guys. There was probably 20, 25 of us, and started telling us well, this is what's going on. This is what we're doing, which I thought was cool, because you look at Phil as like this pinnacle figure. I feel like in the reptile world, and he's over here talking to all us Retic bros, and giving us the lowdown was super cool. And yeah, he's a great dude, wealth of knowledge. Just he's awesome. He's awesome. I just him alone. I would want to support the guy. He's just an awesome dude, But
yeah.
So we got another question. So Benny wants to know what's your longest snake or snakes?
So I tried doing that string method, man. It's just so hard. That Sula is probably my biggest. She's massive, and I always feel like I overestimate. I would probably say around 17 to 18, though, realistically.
She looks big, man.
Yeah. And that's the one thing that people, when you breed them, I feel like when you breed the retics at a younger age, they don't get that development. I almost feel like the people that don't know how to breed get the snakes bigger because they're not pushing it, because it slows them down. They lose a lot of their thickness, and then they're trying to gain their weight back.
Absolutely.
Rather than worrying about development. I like to give them that extra year. Like if they cycle, unless it's a project I'm really wanting to see, I'd rather just let her cycle one season and then push her the next year.
What that Sula, that big Sula that you got, that's who produced? Was that a Terry Wilkins Sula, or is that?
So when I originally got it, I thought it was a wild caught. The lady never had papers, but everyone keeps saying it is a walk-ins line. So
yeah, because I was gonna say I remember. I mean, I stayed pretty, I guess, up to date on a lot of this person has this Wilkins animal, this and that, and it looks like a Wilkins animal, and it looks like the second clutch out of his second clutch, because his first clutch, I don't know if you're aware, but his first clutch they were really weird looking, had really aberrant patterns and just real funky, and a lot of them didn't do good. I had 2 females from that clutch. The first one, the real cool one, I don't know if I'll have to send you pictures. I don't know if you ever saw it, but they were crazy. But the first one, the real neat one, had a real bad prolapsing problem. Like would prolapse, I'd get it to go back in. She'd be good for a month. She'd eat fine, no problems. Then I'd feed her, and then the next day she'd have another prolapse. And it was a constant thing. So a buddy of mine, he was in Michigan. I shipped him the snake, and I think it was like University of Michigan or something, had a really good reptile department vet. So they tried to fix it and brought it back, and the snake never thrived. It ended up passing away. And the other one I got rid of. A friend of mine really wanted her, and I was kind of sour on the whole deal. So about the other one, so I kind of hooked him up with it. And I think that one ended up passing away too. And I don't know if really any from that first clutch that are even alive anymore. There might be 1 or 2, but that second clutch was the clutch that really did well. I mean, that's my female that got egg bound and died was from that second clutch, unfortunately. And I know there's some people that talk and say, "Oh, the second clutch is not as healthy," but I have a sister to that one that died, and she's big and she eats like crazy. I am kind of nervous to breed her though, because I am wondering, like, man, I hope she don't get egg bound too. Like, is it a genetic thing? But
yeah,
it's one of those things that's like, I want to try it, I got to try it, but I mean, it's scary, but
yeah, that's the unnecessary evil. It's like we have to do it in order to guarantee the animals, generations to carry. But there's a lot that can happen. Like my buddy had a snake that went full term, laid a couple eggs, and we didn't know that she was still retaining, and she just died like a month later. Yeah, we still pretty new and didn't know what we're doing.
Did you guys
the hardest part about this?
Did you guys try palpating the eggs out or anything like that, or she just?
We were still so new, we didn't really know, and
Yeah.
I've been pretty, other than Travis Warren, he's a great dude. Like
Yeah, he's a good guy.
I've been, bouncing questions back on him. He's really a solid friend. Other than him, when I first started, I had nobody. I didn't even have anyone to like go clean. There was Weston, but I'm such a busy dude. Literally 16 hours, 18 hours. There's a day I'm working. This is my life, from the rodents to the snakes, and my wife, and luckily I do have right now 3 other workers. Shout out to Lexus, shout out to Anthony, shout out to Scott and my wife. I wouldn't be able to do this without them. It's not just me that takes this, and I got to give them a shout out. But man,
hell yeah.
It's hard.
I assume this is one of your workers, Lex Marie. Is that one of your helpers?
Yeah, that's awesome. My manager. She holds it down at the rodent side of things. We, with all those racks, I probably give out around, I want to say close to 90 hours a week right now in payroll. Wow. Yeah. It's labor intensive, but I'm joke and say we fight to end snake hunger.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. I was going to ask you too, did I see a picture on Facebook that your Sula was breeding or locking up?
Yeah, so she's right now in shed. I did see a good lock for a couple hours from that male. I gave him because he's multi-proven, the biggest male I got. I have that male Sula, Southern Bang T,
Bantang,
I think it's called. I have him, but I just wanted to really ensure that I can get her to go this year, because last year.
My personal opinion is I would not cross the Bantang to her, because the Bantings are known to stay smaller, so I wouldn't want to cross that into her. Yep. I know, and I wish, dude, I would gladly send you my male. He's not very big. I mean, he's small. He's a fucking breeding machine, though, man. He arcs and courts and fucking. He's a savage, but man, he's not small. I mean, he's not big.
That's the problem too right now, though. Shipping. I've shipped out probably 30 to 50 packages. I don't know how many, but I lost my first one due to the volume and weather, and I just broke down and cried today. It was so sad.
It's a hard thing, man.
I love all these animals. Like literally, I have a tattoo of the first 2 Niles I had. They both cycled, and I didn't realize it, and they just kind of got egg bound and died. So I mean, these animals are everything to me. I say animals health over wealth. I spent $800 on a ball python spider just to keep it alive, and it died. I will give up any amount of money just to make sure that animal has a chance. And at the end of the day, we are their keepers. Without us, they would not be able to thrive. They would not be able to survive. So, when I hear all these people out there that don't care for their collections, that let them go to shit, it just breaks my heart, because it's like, how are you going to do that?
It's really sad. I don't know how you can. Yeah, I don't know how you can do it. How you can just let those animals just waste away. Give them away. You're better off giving them away to people that can take care of them rather than letting them sit there. Or, as sad as it is, almost euthanize them instead of them sitting there suffering, not getting taken care of. I mean, that's the worst. That is the worst way to go, So these people that don't feed them and water them or take care of them, they got 3-4 sheds stuck on them and just leave them alone and basically abandon them. We see that way too much in the reptile community, and that is the absolute worst.
It's that disconnect of just being in a cage. People don't see the animal walking up to them, like a dog. They're like, "Oh, you need food," and it's like, that's the sad part is, like people just feel like you can just put it in a cage, and reptiles just get the shit end of the stick of the carekeepers. And for me, I pride myself in transparency. If I have issues in my collection, when I started the rodents, I actually shut down the doors for 2 months because I had some crazy mites that were like attacking my workers and me and stuff.
Oh, wow.
And I'd rather tell you the truth than tell you the lie. because then at the end of the day, if that lie comes out, that makes me look like an asshole.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
at the end of the day, we have only one thing. We can lose everything, but we have our name, we have our reputation, and you have to stand by that, because that's why I have 60 plus reviews on Facebook and almost a 5-star review. I take great pride in bringing customer service and consistency that you can count on. We even go as far as just periodically testing animals, even if I know they're healthy, just because I want that peace of mind.
Are you testing for NIDO, or what are you testing for?
I do full labs, blood work as well as saliva. NIDO, coccidia. There's a few others that I can't think of off my top of my head. We just did one, I think about a month and a half ago, after we kind of stopped doing some shows, just to show people, hey, we got healthy animals. Because it's out there. It's out there. I've heard so many stories of people just bringing a snake home, a month later, half their collection is on death's door, and it's heartbreaking. That's why you got to test. And even for my quarantine procedure is, I bring them in, I make sure they're eating, they're good, they're not stressed. After a month, I schedule an appointment, I get full labs, I wait for them to come back. At that point, wait another 6 months, I test again, and then just to make sure that they're not having that false negative off that first one. And then I'll bring it into my collection. Nothing comes into the quarantine until that animal clears, though, just so I can make sure that I'm not bringing anything in.
That's crazy, man. I mean, you're a better man than me. I try to quarantine stuff. I don't do a month, but I mean, shit, I agree. I think that's something that we all need to do, be better about. It definitely would help, and maybe stop some of these diseases from spreading and wiping out people's collections and stuff like that. But a lot of the problem too, when we were talking about people not giving a shit about the animals, it's a lot of people look at these animals like trading cards. It's horrible. And I love making new stuff and world's first, and I love it. That's partly why I like doing the snake stuff, is you're going to make something that has never been seen before. And what is it going to look like? Is it going to, you can make all these, or come up with all these images in your head. Is it going to look similar? And that's what I like that mad scientist thing. But that doesn't mean you don't care about the animals. I love these snakes. I mean, I've been doing this for over half of my life. I've kept retics since I was 14, If I didn't love these snakes, I would not be taking care of them. I wouldn't be keeping them,
That's the only thing that keeps us going. I feel like that's why those people's collections go to shit. They didn't have the passion to carry us on. When you just put in a 16-hour day and you want to still at least put 2 hours in before just to rise up and repeat.
I mean,
it wears on you. And that's where the passion carries you.
It happens. I mean, you come. I mean, I'm not going to say that I won't have a dirty enclosure here or there. I have 100 plus retics, man. It happens.
You can clean them all, and then you're going to go walking out, and somebody's going to have taken shit.
It's never right. It's never 100% clean, and I use paper, and it's just it never is. That's part of it. When you start getting a larger number of animals, any species, I feel like it's going to look like that. Ball pythons included. Yeah. So it's I don't know. I don't know where I was going to go with that, but it happens, man.
You clean 100 and 3 of them took a shit in their nice fresh cage. You're like, oh, this is a good spot to poop now. And it's just an animal at the end of the day.
Like right now here in my house, because I don't have a facility yet. I still want to get something put up, but we're in Illinois. It's cold. It's winter. It's dry. I have a house humidifier that don't work for shit. So my snakes are having shit sheds. I'm constantly soaking 2, 3, 4 snakes at a time. It's a fucking pain in the ass. But I mean, you gotta do it.
In Colorado, we have around 30 to 40% humidity. I run right now about twice a day. I refill the humidifiers. I have a 3-gallon and 3-gallon ones, and I'm refilling those just to keep it at 60% humidity. But even with my room at 60%, big snakes, people say, oh, you're not giving them right humidity. It's so hard for a big snake to get a shed complete. And I will say that pretty much the only ones that do are the anacondas, and that's just because their skin is a lot thicker.
Yeah. I mean, if I catch them, early enough, I got the big mister. I'll spray it down, or I'll dump their water, and I mean, it's going to make my life hell when I go to clean them, because now you got a swamp in the bottom of the cage. But that I've had some of my bigger ones, man, have pretty good sheds. I'm not saying it's one piece, but like my big blonde tiger, she's right around 19 feet. I mean, she'll have a 2, 3, maybe 4-piece shed here and there if I really catch it in time, which is pretty freaking impressive, man. For a 19-foot snake, you get these big, giant chunks of shed. But yeah, and then every snake, they all shed differently. I have some that just always shed like shit. It don't matter what you do. They're going to just shed like shit for whatever. My Sula female's like that. She just, I don't know why. I soak her, I spray her, everything. And for some reason, it's just a shit shed. And she's hard to handle. So trying to get her into a soaking tub is always a freaking pain in the ass.
You guide them. You don't put them in a tub. You're like, hey.
Well, yeah. But then they shoot back up out when you're trying to get her. And the problem is I have her in the 4 high vision or 4 stack of vision. She's on the 3rd up from the bottom, so she's like chest height. So, I mean, we manage, we get it done. But it's wild. You know what I didn't ask when we were talking about your morphs? Is there anything you don't? I would say don't like, but some people get mad when I say, "Oh, what morph do you not like?" Is there something that you refuse to work with morph wise?
So when I started, it was Golden Child. I was in love with it. I've grown to hate it, honestly.
Really?
There's a few combos I like it with, like a lavender Golden Child, stuff like that. That's really pretty. But you get into like 4 genes, like a platinum Motley Golden Child, Mochino, and you're just looking at, okay, this has got less speckles. Its head's white. It's, as a pet, it's beautiful. But as a breeder, to try and identify a 5-gene Golden Child, it's just like ruins it. I'm a pattern guy. I love my patterns. I don't want just a banana.
No, I hear you.
One solid color.
It's I mean, you're definitely right. I mean, like I love Golden Child. I love it. But I also saw it when it first came in, and it was like at the height or the beginning of the Retic morph craze, right? It was kind of one of the newest things, and there wasn't a lot of stuff out. So I got to see it when it was like the pinnacle of Retics, right? And it was a gold snake of mine forever. And just something about that snake is just a base, really nice black Golden Child is an impressive animal. And then the albinos were made. When I remember when Nerd made the purple albino GCs, it was like fucking mind-blowing. Mind-blowing to see that snake. I mean, even now, it's still one of the coolest albino morphs out, I think. But yeah, I mean, it does. It's a problem. It just eats so much of everything that it's put with. Even cow, the cow's kind of the same way. I love cow. I think cows are amazing, but there's only certain things you can put with them, and you can't tell me you can guarantee that it's an XYZ gene animal. Minus GC and a few other stuff here and there. It's kind of a dead end thing. Like my goal with the cow stuff is I just want to make a Golden Child anthrax cow is a goal of mine. Because
I will say the all white Golden Child cow is just, that's breathtaking. This is about as close as you can get to the leucistic for that.
It's
guaranteed healthy
by itself. The albinos, I don't think look good. I think the albino cows look like shit. They're not impressive to me. I don't think they're that nice looking. I would like to see like orange glow. Indo caramel might look cool. Maybe. I don't know. But it might not. I think it's good. I take my big cow to every NARBC show I vend. That snake gets so much attention. It's unreal. I mean, it's insane. People stop. What the hell is that? Oh my God. Is that real? It is not every person. I mean, even reptile people, come up and what the hell is that? Look at that cow. And she's good size. I mean, she's, I don't know, 14, 15 foot. So, I mean, she's a decent sized snake. So, and she's at that age, now she's 5 years old, 6 years old. So she's getting a ton of black, a lot of black on her. And it's a hard snake. How can you beat that? You can't. That's why the only thing I want to do is make it have black eyes. I think would make it so much cooler. A black-eyed, a lot of black cow. Oh man, that's a goal of mine. That's what I want to do.
I have that anthrax cow, purple. That thing's pretty. I got that from Devin Hoffman, who originally I think got it from Sal Daddy.
Does that thing have a lot of yellow in it or no? Like a normal cow or no?
Yeah, you definitely do see some of the yellow speckling stuff. Unlike the golden child cows, I feel like you don't see any yellow. It's just
GC
dark.
cow is just pure white. Pure freaking white.
Well, no, the spots. You don't. I feel like the spots, when they start to develop, you really start seeing the morphs that influence color-wise into the cows.
So my cow that I have the breeding was platinum phantom GC tiger bred to a GC cow. So my cow could have, platinum, could be tiger, could be. I don't think it's super GC just by the head scalation and stuff like that. I don't think it's a super GC, but it has a lot of yellow flecks, and it didn't have them as a baby. It was pure white, but it's getting a lot of. They're literally one scale, yellow dot here, yellow dot here. But it's cool because it's even in parts of the black, it's got these one little yellow dots here and there. Now I don't know if that's the platinum bleeding out. Because I remember when I think it was Michael Andrews over in the UK, he was like, he made platinum cows like his first year doing cows, and those snakes were like, they were white, but they were like crazy yellow, and they didn't spot up for shit, like very, very little spotting. So I don't know. I'm not in a huge rush to breed her. I don't really care to breed her. I mean, I don't care what she is, honestly. I know she's a GC cow. That's all I wanted. Yeah. So, but we'll see. But then I have a GC cow het anthrax male that I'm trying to pair to my platinum phantom sun het anthrax, which I don't really even want all the other. I don't want platinum. I don't want sun in it. I just want to hit just the GC anthrax cow. I think it's going to be where it's at. But
that's the one perk about Retic clutches. You get to see the diversity of different morph combinations, the variation of, just the same morph, but with different quality of it. And that's the one thing for me, I love, you'll do a ball python and you have 1 out of 120 odds and you won't hit the genetic you want for your lifetime possibly. Yeah. But Retic's 2 or 3 clutches and you'll get the animal you want.
You should, hopefully. I mean, I was nervous over this orange glow clutch, this anthrax orange glow clutch, because man, I typically I'll have a good year, like odds wise, and then I have shit odds for like the next couple years. And I was like, man, I'm gonna hit shit odds. I knew it. I was like, I know it. And then as I cut them, we cut them and great odds. But when I made the blonde anthrax stuff, that was like the worst. It took me 2 clutches, 30 plus eggs, both clutches, back to back years to make one. To make freaking one. So, like, goddamn. So, yeah, at least he's a male. So, I can make some cool stuff. But God, that was like gut wrenching to do that.
Yeah, like, man, I will say I'm envious of you. You have your kid over there who helps you. I see you posting videos with him, getting involved, and that's just to see you inspiring the next generation, of keepers. That's
trying,
really
man.
cool.
I'm trying. It's Lucas was telling me the same thing the other day. Like he was like, "Man, that's so cool to see." And I can just try, right? I can just offer to him and try. My daughter, I don't post as much with her, just because she's wild. My son is he's way more reserved.
Yeah.
But my daughter, I think she's gonna be the animal. She's like me. She's an animal nut. I mean, when I growing up, my mom and dad rehab all sorts of stuff. So I grew up with we had raccoons and we had squirrels and birds and goats and dogs, cats, reptiles. I mean, I had all sorts of crazy shit. I'm an animal lover through and through, right? So she's got that gene, man. She wants to come down and daddy snakes and comes downstairs and she has no fear and trying to grab stuff. I'm like, no, stop. Like my son he'll hold them and he's cool. I mean, he may get more into it, but he's into the car stuff more than the snakes. He likes cars and trucks and all that. Likes to work on the cars and but he's getting really into tarantulas right now. Is his thing. I'm not a spider guy. I've never owned one. I would. My wife is deathly afraid. You cannot have a spider in the house. I will divorce you and leave you if you bring a tarantula. And I don't know if we were just talking about this. I don't know if it's because he knows she's so scared, but it's tarantulas 24/7. That's all we hear about. He's on his iPad and he's watching these I don't know, it's a National Geographic book for kids online, and it's all about tarantulas. So he's coming up to me and, Daddy, the biggest spider's a Goliath bird-eating tarantula? And I'm like, yeah. And he's dropping all these spider facts on me, and I'm like, I wish it was snakes, but I mean, that's cool. Tarantulas are cool, whatever.
Yeah.
But, yeah, so who knows? We may have to. Told him, like, I'm gonna have to make you a JK tarantula shirt, since he's so into tarantulas now. But yeah, it's cool, man. I love sharing it with them, and I love that they're at least open to mess with them and learn. That's all I really care about. I just want them to be able to be like, the snakes aren't bad. They're awesome. They make great pets. They don't hurt you. My dad has all these snakes. They're super cool, and they don't have to be into it and love it and want to do it if they don't. I mean, it would be cool if they do, but just exposure, man. I just want to get them exposed to as much stuff as possible,
Yeah.
And I don't want, like, down the road when they're teenagers to be like, come down here, and start trying to play with shit. And at least they're going to be educated enough to be like, no, we can't touch anything. They can kill you.
Right. Now that one's going to hurt you. We can't go near that.
Right. And I don't want that. Or like, hey, we can't go down there. My dad's not home, or my dad doesn't want us down there. Get them exposed to it so they're used to it. So when they're bigger, it's not a big deal. It's like, nah, we don't need to do that. So
yeah.
It's fun. It was, I don't know. I go back and look through those pictures of, like, them helping me with the eggs or pulling out snakes or holding the snakes, and it's cool to be able to share it with them for sure.
Yeah.
But, go ahead.
Hopefully one day I get and do that too. That's all we can do is just inspire the next generation, to make it so your son one day is in school and the kids are like, snakes are gross. And then he can walk up and be like, actually, snakes aren't that bad. Check out this video. And, that in this industry, it's so cutthroat. So many people are like, oh, I do rats. I don't want you doing rats. You should stay away. But that's just not going to inspire the next generation. We have to welcome people into this industry. We have to allow people to learn these tricks and trades and not seem so close-end, because at the end of the day, when I die, who's in this area if I don't inspire somebody to do it?
Yeah, for sure. I agree. I mean, it's, I try to, when I go to the shows, little kids come up and they're asking me questions and what is this? Or why does it look like this? And this, and I try to give them as much of my attention as possible. And here, play, touch this one, or do you want to hold it? Do you want to see something? Because that's, like you said, they're the ones that are going to carry this hobby to the next generation and further. We have to support them and expose them to as much as possible. It's
I almost forgot to mention, when I was a kid, I was probably under 10 years old, and one of my parents' friends had a basement with like a Burmese python and just a bunch of animals, and that just kind of gripped me as a kid as something that I always remembered, and I still remember it to this day. And like, that's the moment that impacted my life, to be like, these animals are cool, to see a giant, I think it was an albino Burmese or something back in the day when they were just fresh. And this guy had probably 40 or 50 rabbits in his garage and stuff. It was just so cool. And, just to look back and be like, yeah, that was something that I'll always remember. Is, that's the moment I want a kid to look at, to come to my table and be like, that guy let me touch a snake. He answered my questions. It's cool. You just got to inspire.
I just had my kindergarten teacher reach out to me like a week and a half ago, and she's like, she knew, because I've worked at the same job since I was in high school, so she knew I worked there. So she called over there and, hey, my grandson is really into reptiles. He's like super into reptiles, and I was telling him about you. Do you still mess with the reptiles and stuff? I said, yeah. So she originally wanted to bring him to my house to come over. And I said, yeah, you guys are more than welcome. Come on by. It ended up being too far of a drive for her from where I work. So she's like, I can't bring him. That's, he really wants to, like, I'll bring some to my work. I'll bring some if you come over to my work, that's fine. I'll bring a few. So I ended up bringing like 5 snakes, and it was right after the babies hatched. So I had an egg that I cleaned out for him, and I brought it. And I think he was like 11 or 12, so maybe 13. And man, he was like, couldn't believe he was like mind blown seeing these snakes. I mean, we started with the egg, and I explained to him, about the egg, and we started with not a fresh baby, but a 2-3 month old, and couldn't believe it. And then we went a little bigger, and I ended up bringing the big cow, and he was like, what? Like, this is, I'm like, yeah. He's like, he's like, I didn't, my teacher, she's like, I didn't know you kept this many. I'm like, yeah. I'm like, I've been breeding them for years, and I sell them and trade them all over the country and some stuff overseas. And she couldn't believe it when I started telling her how many I had and what they eat and and he was like, this is, he looked at his grandma. He's like, Grandma, I'm going to do this. I want to raise snakes.
That's so awesome.
It was pretty cool, man. I was like, I wanted to do it, but it's a long day, and I didn't want to bring snakes. But after I got in and started talking to him and stuff, and then seeing him how excited he was, I was like, damn, man, I remember when it was like me at that age, and kind of had the same thing. My dad had a friend that had berms in his basement, and we went over there, and it was like changed my life, like it was like without that, I mean, I liked them, but without that, I don't know if I would have stuck with reptiles or, not like this. It was changed my whole life. Pretty cool stuff.
I feel, there's a law called the law of familiarity. The more you're around stuff, the more you take it for granted. And not necessarily to neglect it, but it's like the new pair of shoes. When we get the first snake, it's like, holy crap, this snake is so cool. It's so awesome. 6 months, a year goes by, and we're like, oh yeah, there's snake, but check out this snake. It's the new one. It's, and that's the one thing I feel like too often we just walk past our collections and don't just like sit there and like, holy crap, just marvel at all our achievements. Because there was days where, man, I've slept on the floor for 6 months. I stole food to live. I literally had nothing, and I have built this company up to where it's at today. And I always tell people, if I can do it, so can you, but know that you're going to have to work hard to get it. This was not anything easy by any stretch of a major. Yeah. There was a lot of sacrifice, blood, and tears to get where I'm at today. And that's what I think a lot of people look at, people who have established themselves in the industry, like, oh, screw that guy, he's got it so easy. But they don't remember, people are rewarded in public for what they practice years in private. And that's the thing that a lot of people don't realize, is that we've paid the dues, whether you've seen them or not, long ago before we were here today on this podcast.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a long road traveled for sure. For sure. I was looking through old pictures from my collection, like when I started and stuff, like, but previously, like when I was a kid and had stuff, and it was like my mom, when I visited for Thanksgiving, we were looking at stuff, and I was like, just crazy to think, like, being a high school kid with like random animals and home built cages and aquariums and stuff. And one day I'm going to have a huge collection of snakes. And now my whole basement is filled with, I got 100+ Retics and a monitor. And it's just, yeah, it's wild. Like you said, you take it for granted. I mean, there's days, I remember like the ocelot was like I have an ocelot now, and it's like, I love it. It's cool, but it's like you said, when I didn't have it, it was the coolest thing, and now I have it, and I see it every day, and I'm like, yeah, it's cool, but it's like, what's going to be the next combo, or what's the next cool snake? I mean, we definitely take it for granted, man, for sure, 100%. So let me ask you, let's see, what else did I want to, this is a good one. We're going to wait on that one. What is your most anticipated pairing of the season, if you can tell us?
Oh, man. So I would say the Sula. Definitely am excited to bring more of that blood into it.
Did you say what you bred her to?
Yeah. So I bred her to, I say I hate Golden Child, but I did a Golden Child Motley Purple. Okay. And that one was originally from Prehistoric. I picked him up from, I think, a Brian gentleman. I can't remember her name. But yeah, he's a prolific breeder, throws mad arches. I figured if anyone could get it done, it would be him. But then I sent you that photo last night, that anthrax cow had purple to a white phase albino citron phantom sun tiger. She made a Frankenstein clutch with the marble jag hat purple. So I really wanted, I want to see more anthrax. So that's one of those things where I'm really excited to just probably get a 3 or 4 gene het anthrax pair and just, throw them together. It makes it hard to ID, but at the same time, it's nice because I don't have to have, 3 or 4 snakes to have those same genetics in my collection. And, it'd be nice to take her to just a pure locality just to clean out that, because you got to think 5 morphs combos, how many breedings did that take to make? So
Right.
there could have been some line breeding. There could have just been, siblings breeding together. I'm big on longevity of the animals. I'd rather have something that's healthy and thrive rather than something that looks super cool.
Right.
So I'm really excited about that. But I mean, yeah, anything that's pure locality or close to it is probably my anticipation. That Sula, I want to see how many eggs she's gonna have. I swear it's gonna be like 60 or 70.
I just want to see. I want to see what GC looks like with the Sula crossed in, because I mean, I made those 50% Sula Motleys, which look freaking awesome. They look so good. So I'm curious if GC, if you're going to see anything, if it's going to trick it out or change it at all. I'm just curious. It probably won't, but who knows?
Yeah.
Or a GC Motley Sula might look cool.
It's truly humbling to have, that animal, because there's people that have those animals and don't want to breed them. For me, I'm like, why? People need that. I get it. Not everyone should have that animal. And that's what I tell people when they're like, yeah, I don't have room for this big giant snake. I'm like, yeah, you're going to have to get rid of your bed and slap a mattress on top of a cage, because that's the size of cage you're going to need for this animal. And it's an unnecessary evil that we have to have so many cages, but we wouldn't be able to have the advanced in genetics and stuff like that had we not do what we do. People frown on it, but like, that's why I want the 8x8 foot room at my next facility. So I can just let them stretch out, let them roam. It'd be so cool just to have my green anaconda in a 500-gallon water. Because, the thing about anacondas is a lot of people don't realize is you can't just give them a water dish, water bowl, and let them soak in it, because they'll develop fungi and stuff on their scales and stuff. And my big girl actually had a water dish for 3 weeks on, 1 week off, but I started noticing little tiny soft spots on her scale, and then she shed and out. That was like beginning issues. So they can actually crush themselves from the weight of their own body just being on land. That's why
I didn't know that.
A lot of the bigger anacondas, you need that big giant water container. So that's why I haven't pushed her so heavily. I would love for her to be 200-300 pounds and 16 foot and just massive. But yeah, it's one of those things people don't realize that you can't unless you have a massive filtration system. That green anaconda, though, if she drops, that would probably be my most anticipated. But if she never breeds, I'll always keep her, because she's just an amazing animal. She's so calm. She's never once struck at me. The male's the only one that's gave me issues, and that's because I did have rodents in my garage for a while there, and I swear he smelled them the first week and was just like ready to attack. I keep all my animals here at the house. All my rodents and stuff are about 3 to 5 miles from my house, just because it's a safety concern. You can't, again, if I come home from the rodent room and go downstairs, everyone's at the glass.
That would be hard.
Just bite the shit out of me.
Yeah, that would be dangerous for sure. Definitely. Well, I hope the Sula goes for you, man. I'd really like to see those babies. I think those are going to be crazy. I think that's going to be a really cool breeding. And if it doesn't happen for you, we talk. Maybe get you this male. I'll put some big meals in this boy and try to get some little bit more size on him. And
even just a pure locality, carrying the generations on. It's not so much the size, but being able to give other people the opportunity to own a pure locality Sula. I mean, because they're strong. She's a different animal. Than even Chino that's the same size. Like, I can handle her a little bit better, but that Sula, man, there's just moments where she's just moving. I have to set her down just to get a closer up to her head. It's just insane.
It's a unique snake, man. I've been talking to Nick, Nick Berg, right? I assume, or of him. So me and him talk a lot. And I mean, they act a lot different. And he was telling me that he thinks that there's a lot of, that's why people are having issues breeding them, because they just need to be housed differently, temperatures and all that, which he might be onto something for sure. But but yeah, I mean, they're a totally different snake. They move different. I feel like they're strong. They're fast. They're agile. I mean, I
The
don't know if
amount of
that.
food that girl took, I swear to God, I was paying my feeder bill just to feed her. Like, I hammered her with so much food just to get her to go off, and it was
God.
insane. It
You
was
know,
insane.
there's a lot of people, you know, that talk, you know, about the Sulas were the legend, the biggest of the big, and now some people say they're not, some say they are. You know, I will say that, I mean, all the Sulas I've had, it seems like they blow through food at such an insane rate compared to other animals, the combo morphs and stuff. You know, I don't know, they can go through so much food so quickly. It blows my mind. It truly does. It's big meals. It's gone. Like my bigger female I have now, she's eating 12 to 14 pound pigs, and it's like you feed her, and it's like 3 days. There's 4 days. There's no lump. It's gone. Like completely gone. Like where the hell? Where's the other stack? Because I feed usually one stack of visions at a day, one, and it's like the snakes above her and below her still have a pretty good sized lump, and she's done, pissed all in her cage, cruising around like, oh my God, really? Like wild, man. It's unbelievable. I've never seen.
I was probably hitting her with at least once a week, at least.
God, she's a mom. I mean, she's awesome. She's huge. Don't like that one. Like the one Weston got. That's a big ass snake. You know, it's.
I actually got to see Nefertiti when she was alive, and that was a snake that was literally like my shoulder width, and just like, holy fuck.
I've seen some monsters, man. I you know, it's I've been out to Jay's and I saw Twinkie. Twinkie was fucking enormous. I mean, enormous. And then I've been to Bob's. I've seen some of Bob's giant ass, humongous snakes. You know, and then, you know, there's some other guys. I always say my buddy Chad, who lived up in Wisconsin, he doesn't keep retics anymore, but he had a Sula he got as a wild caught hatchling, or, you know, a juvenile from Nerd way back when. And that snake was, I never saw it fully out of the cage, but man, that snake was probably the longest snake I've ever seen. It definitely wasn't as big as heavy as Twinkie, but that snake the head was massive. The scales were giant. It was a very intimidating giant snake. I mean, it might not have been as big, but it fucking looked like it. It was, the head on it was just unreal. I saw Jim Gaspar. He had a giant tiger named Twiggy, I think it was, and that was like a 21 plus foot tiger, huge, like this puppy dog. Though he'd pull her out. He took her to NARBC a few times. And giant snake. So and that one you got is a big ass snake, and the one that Weston's Nefertiti was huge. That Sula he's got is big as hell too now.
Yeah,
the other Sula's big. So
I haven't been to a facility since he moved to Utah. I mean, he was, you know, Weston is another great unity. You know, he's honest. He's very upfront. You know, I love the fact that he's transparent with everything. You know, I mean, for me, that's the biggest thing is transparency, you know, because in this industry, there's too many smoke and mirrors. And, you know, I've gotten backlash for like videos or photos of me pulling teeth of the snakes. But I mean, these are the things that people don't talk about, but we all have been there that have had big collections, you know, and that's the thing that I am big on is I want you to know exactly what you're getting into so you can possibly like, oh yeah, I don't want to deal with the 16-foot snake that I got to hold with 4 people to pull teeth, you know, and it happens, you know.
It's reality. It could happen.
Responsibility to care for these animals and to take care of it, you know, because for me, I won't want to take an animal like that to the vet because they're going to want to give it gas to put it down so they can sit there and work on it.
Yeah.
And, you know, I don't believe they process anesthesia the same like dogs and cats. And I believe, honestly, that's why I lost my big Nile back in the days, because within 24 hours they gave it anesthesia, and you know it was, you know, alert. It wasn't, you know, it was building eggs. I didn't realize it, and they put it under to do liver tests and stuff like that, and then just I got it back, and it just was not the same at all. There's no way within that little time it could have gone from where it was to how I got it back.
That's how my Sula that died was. She had some weird, I don't know what it was. She was almost like paralyzed in her back end. Like she couldn't move it I have no clue what happened. So I ended up taking her to the vet, and they looked at her and stuff, and they wanted to do a CT scan on her. And I was like, I guess we have to find out what's going on. It was like $2,000+ to get her checked out and put her under anesthesia, all that. Brought her back. That was a year prior to her passing. They said, oh, she had eggs in her, which she didn't. They were just follicles. So the fact that a vet couldn't tell the difference between an egg and follicles, I was kind of upset about. And then because she wasn't breeding prior to that. So, and she just never was right after that. She did gain some of her, I'd say probably 40%, 40% of her movement back in her back end. And it was one of those things. It's like the breeding season was coming up, and I'm like, do I try to breed her or not? I'm like, I feel like I tried it. She locked. She went through all the stages of being gravid, and then just kind of her ass end blew up huge. Like I knew something was wrong just the way it was looking and how she was laying. And yeah, within a couple days, she passed. So I don't think not breeding her would have changed anything. I think she's just declined. She was declining anyways, but my friend, I didn't have the heart to do it, so my friend did like a autopsy on her because I couldn't see it. And yeah, he pulled out, I don't know, 19 or 20 big giant eggs. Big giant eggs, but he said her heart was like tiny, like very, like it seemed abnormally small. So I don't know if that was something, if that was part of it. So yeah, I don't know. But I mean, yeah, how many people are going to go drop $2,000+ on a snake to get a CT scan? It's most people don't give a shit. They're gonna leave it alone and just whatever happens.
Yeah, I spent $1,800 on that Nile.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't care, man. Money can come back, but you can't get that animal back.
Yeah.
And yeah, you can buy another one, but if you have that relationship with the animal, I would throw any amount of money at that animal or just to get it another day, and it's the hardest part about this industry is we're going to outlive most of our animals. And there's a lot of heartache and heartbreak with that, whether it's just a normal or anything. Like my first snake was a normal, and I kept her until she had an issue just in July where she had an RI, and I just couldn't get her to kick it. And I was more sad about that animal because it was the first one I ever had than any other animal. It's just tough.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, you get attached to these animals, and I even have a hard time. I have a snake for 7, 8, 9 years, and now kind of phased out of that breeding. I don't really need that animal no more. Just even getting rid of that snake, it's kind of like it's a tearjerker. Kind of like pulls at my heartstrings a bit because it's like you raised this snake from this tiny little baby, and now it's this big, multiple proof. I don't feel like I get as attached to my males, but my females, it's like. You raise the snake produced multiple clutches. It's, you have babies from her, and it's like, man, I hate getting rid of them because it's like, it's so many years of interaction and all that. But
that, and you may sell it to a person you think's a good care, but you're not there caring for the animal.
Right,
you don't
absolutely.
know exactly what's going on. She's going to have a good life with you.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. So many people, how easy it is to like put on a front to somebody at a show or through an email, and you send them an animal and they end up being a piece of shit. It happens. It's some people are good liars, and you can, what is it? Try to question them and try to, make sure that vet them as best as possible. But sometimes I slip through the cracks. I mean, I feel like personally, I have a pretty good bullshit reader. Like I can kind of tell if somebody's blowing smoke up my ass or not. But I mean, online, it's tough. It's hard. And I mean, sometimes it happens, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But
I mean, I always say actors get paid to cry, porn stars get paid to moan. So, a person only lets you know exactly what they want you to see.
Definitely. Let's see. So, where do you see, your Retic program in the next 5 years? Like, where do you see yourself with it?
I definitely want to go more Mochino, honestly. Okay. I love it. It's just, my favorite form of albinism out there. The fact that you either carry het white or het purple, you get that added little bonus with whatever you breed to see that diversity of combos. But I mean, as for DNA as a business, the snakes are always going to be a hobby. I don't ever want to have to rely upon them.
Mm-hmm.
I'm focusing on doubling my numbers after 2023, just because, with the recession right now, people don't need animals. They need food to feed the animals, whether you're a breeder or you're just owning a pet, you need the feeder. So, I mean, I definitely am going to be going animal heavy because that's going to allow me to finance, any kind of zoo or anything like I want, because I want to inspire the youth. I want people to be able to come and see these animals and enjoy them and, inspire the next me.
Yeah. Hell yeah, man. Right on. That's a great answer. So do you have any like mentors, like who would you say is a mentor or you consider a mentor to you in the Retic world?
Travis Warren, hands down. He's one of the best dudes. We did a project. Unfortunately, it didn't pan out this season.
Mm-hmm.
I have a Mochino G-stripe female that we paired with his Lemon Glow Super. It's a Lemon Glow Super Sunfire, het G-stripe, possible het purple. But that didn't. It was their first time cycling, But again, I really wanted to see that project, so we pushed it through. But Travis, man, shout out to him. He's an A1 dude. He's literally the only person I will trust to bring an animal in without quarantining, because
he's very OCD about his stuff. He's very like I love it. I mean, I wish I had. I have my OCD to a point, but he, man, is like, I love it. I love how like organized and just, I don't know.
Yeah.
He's a good dude, man.
That's one thing too, it's like you, him, James, the guys that have been around here for so long. It's just so nice to have somebody like that where I can be like, hey, tell me about this genetic. And he's going back into the 90s about these animals and stuff, telling me stuff that you could never find in a book. I bought that Retic books.
Yeah, I know which one. I think I got it right here too. The Sid one, the guy that
Sid
dude
made.
Sid.
Yeah. I've read that thing a few times, but I mean, the amount of knowledge that you can get from somebody just talking to him, like Travis, it's phenomenal. I love him. He's a good dude. He's a good friend.
Yeah, he's a really good guy. I interviewed him a couple one of my first episodes. So people that haven't checked it out, go check out Travis's episode. I want to get him back on here sometime soon too. But Travis is an awesome dude. He's a wealth of knowledge, and he has an awesome memory. So he remembers a lot of stuff. So great dude. What else? Well, we're at an hour and a half, so I'm gonna have got one more question for you. And then we can call it a night. So there's a lot of, I feel like now it's the drama, the Retic drama is crazy, right? It's just, I don't know. We always had it, but I feel like this is probably the worst it's been. So where do you see the Retic community headed, like in the future? Like, are we just going to crash and burn? Do you think we can get through it? What do you think?
I'm big on community. We are a reptile community. If I have my way, we're going to come closer together. I own an expo. I haven't done it because of the pandemic and everything, but we have to come together. We have to stick together. All the petty bullshit. This dude's undercutting me. I don't like him because this is what he does. It's not good. If you're on the outside of a house looking at a couple arguing, you're not going to want to go into that house. And that's what I see on the reptile community is a lot of people just arguing and bickering, and we have to stand together as a community. It scares me to see, because again, we're so shut the door, don't tell people our secrets. We need to band together. I mean, otherwise, united we stand or divided we fall.
Oh yeah. Couldn't.
I always say to anyone that's watching, if you guys ever have any questions or, want any advice, you can always reach out to me. I'm in your corner, even if you've never bought from me. And if I don't have the answers, I'm not going to give you some bullshit lie. I'm going to point you in a direction to somebody I believe that can further assist you, because I'm an open door. I don't want you to feel like you can't come to me, or you have an animal that needs help, but you're scared to make a post on Facebook because the people are going to bring their torches out. We have to work together for the betterment of the animals, for the betterment of the community, work together. That's where I feel.
Hell yeah, man. Great answer. I couldn't agree more with you on that. I know me personally, I'm guilty of it, jumping in and see something that pisses me off and fuck that guy, blah, blah, blah. It's easy to do, but it's hard, it's hard not to, especially when you've been involved in the Retic community for 20 plus years. And, you see so much and it's hard, but yeah, it does no good. It does no good to anybody. We need to come together. We need to work together. We have there's certain bad eggs in the group, I guess, that, we just need to not even give them the time of day, which we do. We second something happens with them, it's like just everybody jumps on it, and just don't even give them the time of day. But
yeah, we do have to self-police, or else, like in Colorado, we have PACFA here that will come into your facility, and we're licensed by the state of Colorado too. Actually, we have inspectors that can show up at our facility at random and be like, "Hey, spot inspection." So, if we don't keep our industry on point by ourselves, then we're going to have government officials reaching into our industry and doing those things that we don't necessarily want.
Yeah, we don't want that.
Yeah, it's not, they're out there for the betterment of the industry, but at the same time, they are not able to tell you what kind of animal is, but then they want you to regulate it. They want to regulate it the way they see fit without actually understanding what the animal truly needs. But we're only their good intention, but we have to guide them. So,
awesome.
And then I forgot what I was going to say.
That happened. Yeah, as I say, I hear you. We're an hour 36 minutes in, so. But, well, hey, man, I appreciate you coming on, dude. I know we were trying to get this going for a while. I know I told you I'd get you on soon, and then just life is busy. I know how it is. So, but I'm grateful. It's grateful that you came on, and I appreciate it. So,
thank you, man. I really appreciate it, and I look forward to having a long friendship with you over the years.
It was nice to actually talk to you instead of just online and seeing your posts. So it was nice to talk to you, and maybe one of these days I'll get out to Colorado, or if you ever get out to Tinley, man, it'd be nice to meet up and hang out. So
for sure, man, you can always come see my operation. I'm an open door. There's only about 10 people that have seen my collection, and that's how I like it. I'd love for people to come see what I have, but I just get paranoid.
I don't blame you.
People just want to snatch and grab, or just, they don't shower before they come to my shop. And then next thing you know, you're bringing something in.
Yeah, for sure. All right, man. Well, hey, I appreciate it. I'm going to just hang tight after I get you into the green room. I'm going to just close up and then we'll chat for a second. So
all right,
I appreciate it. If you guys go check out Aaron at DNA Slithers N Critters, get all your rodents. He's the rodent guy to go talk to. So, all right, buddy. I'll talk to you in a minute.
Okay.
All right. Awesome episode. Appreciate all you guys stopping in, and I see Aaron's got a lot of friends in the chat, so thank you guys for supporting. And guy busts his ass, man. It sounds like he's a workaholic, so I love it. Thank you everybody that stopped in and checked out the show. Appreciate all you guys. Make sure you guys subscribe if you are not subscribed already. Share it. I would like to get the numbers up. If we get more numbers up, I'd be more apt to do this a little more often. But if not, that's fine too. I don't mind doing it every once in a while and bringing somebody on. So, as always, make sure to go support US Arc. If you are not supporting them, fuck you. No, but make sure you're supporting them. Get a membership. We need the memberships. Even if you're donating, buy a membership. They're not that expensive. Numbers matter. So, so go do that, and we will see you guys on the next one.